What's up, real ones? It's your host, Rueben. I don't dodge the tough questions, and I'm never afraid to speak the truth. If you're new here, welcome. We celebrate stories, unpack the hard stuff, and talk about the things that actually shape us. So take a breath and lean in. This is Getting Real. Getting Real. Getting Real. What is up, you guys? And welcome to the next episode of Getting Real with Rueben. As you've seen in the lead up to this, I am so excited. I think, the cat's out the bag. By the time you guys see this, the cat has been let out the bag. And before I introduce this well-known guest that we have today, I want to remind people, I've talked to people before, or talked to my viewers and listeners about this before, which is not judging a book by its cover, right? And remembering, the theme that's kind of been in the last few episodes is perception is reality, but that doesn't mean it's truth. And I think that a lot of times we get lost in whether it be reality TV or social media. We forget that the people behind some of these, whether it be, accounts or shows or characters, quote unquote, are real people. And that's kind of how today's episode came to fruition. I think that it was way overdue to speak to this next guest. She is no stranger to being on camera. She's no stranger to reality TV. But she is a well-respected real estate agent, and it warms my heart to be able to interview her just because, as you guys know, I'm one of the top producers here in Texas. So I'm gonna, without further ado, I'm just excited. Please welcome Nicole Young. You know her from Selling Sunset, from the Oppenheim Group. And Nicole, I am so happy to finally start this conversation that's been well overdue.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm so excited.
Yes. So let's get into it. Let's start the conversation where I think a lot of people are falling short of, which is, who is Nicole, right? Like, I feel like you were introduced to the show as, a new agent to the show, but you had been at the Oppenheim Group for a minute, but we never got to see the dynamic, right? We never got to see what you were like. We never got to see where you're from, your upbringing, your husband. He gets touched on a couple times, but so talk to me about that. How long have you been doing real estate? How long have you been at the Oppenheim Group? Talk to me about, your beginning stories.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in real estate and with the Oppenheim Group for over a decade. The Oppenheim Group is the first and only brokerage that I have ever been with. I joined, a couple months after Jason first opened the doors, on Sunset Boulevard. LA was the first office that he opened, and I've been there ever since. At that time, gosh, it was probably a good 5 years before the show ever existed. We were a much smaller team at that point. A lot of the people that you see on the show that have, continued to come on every season, it was years before any of them had joined. So it was a much different, just dynamic back then. And yeah, I'm originally from Minnesota. I've been in LA for almost 19 years, which is crazy. I actually went to college
Wow.
in Texas. So I moved
Oh,
out here. Yeah. Went to Baylor in Waco and then
I
moved
didn't
out
know that.
to,
Go Bears.
yeah, yeah. And then moved out to LA. And like I said, I just 19 years just kind of went by like that. You've seen my husband a little bit. It's unfortunate he hasn't been in it more because he's amazing. But yeah, we've been together for like 11 and a half years. So it's been a long time. We have 3 dogs. We have just a very normal life outside of the show, which really
Yeah.
helps me like kind of be able to compartmentalize things because it's like
Yeah.
you have one side of life that is just crazy, just chaotic craziness, right? And then the other side of it is just as normal as can be. And that has just kind of been like my saving grace, You come home and you're just like, okay, let's just get back to normal life, deal with clients, deal with family, deal with friends. So that's kind of been like, you know, my anchor in all of it.
Good. Yeah, like it's the escapism, right? Like, although it is a shit show at times with the show, it is kind
Yeah.
of, I would imagine it's still fun. You get dolled up, you get to work fashionable clothing, you get to kind of remove yourself from that normalcy. You talk about, before we move into the dynamics of the show, you talked about your husband, you talked about how your life is a little bit more normal, right, than what we see.
Mhm.
Talk to me before we get into these past seasons. I do want to dive a little bit into your personal life with your husband. Was he a little bit, more nervous about you joining the cast, or was it a decision that you guys had both talked about? Hey, this is a great opportunity. I kind of want to dabble dabble into it. What was that conversation like?
Okay, so funny enough, I was originally supposed to be part of the main cast in season 1, like, at the very beginning. 2 days before we started shooting, I pulled out because I was like, "I don't wanna do this, I don't wanna do this, I'm not ready, I don't know what this is gonna be," and I pulled out. And then, there were lots of discussions back and forth over different seasons, season 2, Jason wanted me to come on, and I just still said no, and then season 4, I thought I was going to. I took me a while to, like, even just, you know, get myself under the understanding, like, okay, is this something you're going to do? And then they went in a different direction. And then I was just like, okay, I don't want to do this at all. So before season 6, they had come to me and they're like, hey, we'd love to get you back on camera, and we really would love for you to join season 6. And I was like, thank you so much. I appreciate that. But like, I'm just not interested. And so then they're like, "Well, can we at least, like, jump on a call and just hear the reasons why?" And I was like, "I mean, it's kinda weird, but yeah, sure, I'll tell you why I don't want to."
Yeah.
So that call just kept getting, like, rescheduled, and they're like, "Okay,
Mm,
we want Adam on the call, and now we want it to be a Zoom." And I was like, why is this such a big deal? I've already said no."
yeah.
So then, I didn't hear from them for like 6 weeks, and I was kinda just like, "Whew, okay, good. I don't have to be pressured," and I don't know what that call was anyways. So then my husband and I were out of town for, like, a family thing, and I get a text from Adam and Skylar. They're the 2 main, like, the creators, basically.
Creators. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And they were like, "Hey, can we jump on a call with you really quick?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm out with family right now." And they're like, "No, no, no, it's really important. It'll be like 2 minutes." And I was like, "Okay." So they called me and they're like, "Hey, we just wanted to give you the good news. Netflix officially greenlit you. Like, you're officially part of the cast for season 6." And I was like, "Did I have amnesia? Did I black out for a conversation I don't remember having?" Because I was like, I was pretty sure I was pretty clear the last time I said no. So anyways, my husband's golfing at the time. I'm like freaking out. He comes back and I'm like, "Uh, what just happened?" And he goes, "Nicole," he's like, "just do it. Just do it." He's like, "You don't want to have regrets down the road." And I was like, "Excuse me?" I was like, I thought you were gonna have my back not to do this. So he was the one who was just like, just do it,
Wow.
and so that was definitely a helpful. Had he not pushed me, I would have been like, no, I'm not doing this.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah, that was unexpected on all ends, but yeah, that's
So
exactly how
shout
it
out
went
to
down.
hubby, shout out to your husband because the thing is that which is it's a perfect segue, right? Like a perfect segue for me because I feel like shout out to your husband first off for at least pushing you to do it because I know it's been a whirlwind for you. I know that and we're going to get into a lot of the conversation, but I will say from what the research that I've done, you're a well-respected real estate agent in your market. I mean, now across the United States, right? And soon to be possibly Tennessee, right? We don't know what that looks like,
Yeah.
but I feel like the first question I want to start off with you is how you kind of touched on it already, but I want to dig a little deeper on how you separate Nicole Young, the realtor, from Nicole Young reality TV, right? And I know that you like an escape, right? But I would imagine in your day to day, you're going to restaurants, you're going out with your husband, you're hanging out with your real friends. How do you keep
Mhm.
how do you keep anchored to the real world? When especially when a new season drops like this past season.
It's something that I've been through now a few times, so it just gets easier and easier. But like, me, Nicole Young, the real person in real life, is the thing that I have full control of. It's not edited, it's not produced, it's I have control of that.
Yeah,
The reality TV part is something that I have had to come to terms with that I have no control over. And, for me in real life, it's like that's also my opportunity to just be able to show who I really am. And it's funny too, because I've had
Mm,
so many situations in the last, several years where I'll be at an event or just out or even just like at a restaurant and I'll meet people and they'll be like, "Oh my God, like you are so different than, what you see on TV." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, that's the part that I just don't have control over." And I don't
yeah,
mean just in terms of like the editing and the producing, but it's also like the scenes, what you
yeah,
film and what you don't film, who you film with, the things you have to like, it's all, it's not like, a camera's just following you around. I mean,
yeah,
everything is intentional. Like, we get our filming schedule, and they tell us what we're doing, every step of the way.
yeah,
So and I also understand, like, most people don't understand that unless you have done reality TV or, worked behind the scenes.
yeah,
So, yeah, but it's also just kind of been now I look at it like as an opportunity to, I mean, obviously my friends and family and clients, like those people all know me and all
yeah.
have, but like people beyond that, it's just an opportunity to be like, nope, this is who I really am.
Hmm. And I would imagine like your current clients or the clients that you had prior to joining the cast, they all
Hmm.
understand. Like I would imagine it was a conversation you had to have for, I'm sure, like, hey, I'm going to be on the show, like, take it with a grain of salt type of situation. And my follow up to
Yeah.
that is, have you had any situations in which being a cast member has hindered your business? Maybe the client kind of didn't want to work with you because they believe the narrative.
So that was by far my biggest concern about joining the show, because I was like, that comes first. My
Yeah.
career, my clients, like that's number one, uh, you know, above anything else. So I will say no. Thankfully, that has not, had any negative effects on my business, but mainly because, I mean, in the real estate market, I am respected,
Yeah.
and my clients know me.
Mm,
They know me in business and beyond. I mean, so many of my clients, have become very dear friends, and actually, after that weekend of them telling me I was greenlit, I called two of my biggest, longtime clients to get their perspective. And I was
okay.
like, not just like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing," but I was like, "Hey, what do you like? Do you think I should do this?" And they were like, "Yes, absolutely."
Aw,
Like, they're like, "Listen, no matter what happens," they're like, "Do it. Take the opportunity." Like, again, we know you through and
yeah.
through, so don't worry about us. And that was a really big call for me, and just kind of getting their blessing and encouragement on it, because that is, they're important people, not just in business but in life. And so, yeah, that helped as well.
Yeah, I feel like I can put myself in your shoes, and I mean, you probably know. We would have to have a conversation about this off camera, but I mean, I would imagine in your market as well, just as in Texas, you see those agents, and you're like, "What the hell are you doing?" Meaning via social media, it's like
Uh-huh.
they're chasing the trends, and so already I think about those people, and I'm like, "Oh man, I wonder what clients are thinking about them," right? So I can't even imagine what was going through your mind in something of this
Yeah,
caliber, right? What they're going to think of you and so on and so forth.
for
Before I
sure.
jump into this season, you mentioned, you talked about how Adam and the creators were kind of on you. Was there ever a conversation with Jason? I mean, I want to say Jason and Brett, but I understand the dynamic there is Jason is more of the managing broker there at at your office, correct?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So was there
um
ever a conversation between them two of like, we really want you to do it, or is it just kind of like, if you want to,
uh
come on over, Red Rover.
no, Jason had been wanting me, very strongly wanting me to do it for years. And
Mm,
he said he'd been pushing me behind the scenes for years,
yeah.
like wanting me to join. Yeah. Because,
Wow.
it's obviously I've been there since the beginning. I had relationships with all the people. I mean, other than, the people that they would cast, to bring in from the outside. And, I think he wanted someone who did a lot of business, and just again, had prior relationships, because it just
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
it
You knew the true culture of The
ungenuine.
Office. You knew the true culture of The Office
Right.
outside of the Chriselle being casted or the
Right.
Chelseas or whatever. Okay.
Exactly.
So let's get into this season. So I know that everyone watching right now or listening wants to know how to dig as much as we can, obviously being respectful. But one of the things that I'm most interested in is the season starts out immediately with the quote unquote drama or miscommunication or whatever the hell you want to call it between you
Hmm.
and Emma, right? And Emma has
Right.
been Emma has, for sake of the show, right? She's been portrayed, if you will, alongside Chriselle and Chelsea for a very long time. You have your little,
Right.
the little groups within the show. But this season starts off specifically with the drama from last season, which revolves around Emma being a quote unquote husband stealer, homewrecker, whatever
Mhm.
the hell you want to call it, right? Along those lines. And what I thought was interesting, number one, was how they depicted that whole situation. I mean, from the jump, the season started within 2 minutes in. We were talking about this conversation between you and Emma, and so
Mhm.
I guess my question, my first question to you is, what do we not see, in the moments of you having that conversation of saying, hey, I didn't make this information up. It was told to me by a family member of Jason and Brett. What are we
Mhm.
not seeing? Was there a conversation between you and Emma prior to filming about this? Or was it mum's the word, no conversation until we hit the cameras?
We had zero communication, zero conversations prior to that, beginning like season 8, like the previous season. So no, that was legitimately the first time that we had, discussed it. Was
Wow.
was right then and there. Yeah.
And so I guess so take me back a little bit if you can remember, because I know this was filmed eons ago for you. Um
Yeah.
Last season, I remember, I know how it kind of came up. Y'all were on your trip, and then y'all were at the, if I recall, y'all were at a dinner table. Amanda's telling you to stop
Uh-huh.
talking. Everyone's kind of tiptoeing around it. I guess as a viewer, I'm wondering, okay, well, where is that coming from? Is it because everyone kind of knew that there was a situation that had happened and they were kind of giving you the look of like, cameras are rolling, shut your mouth? Or was it like, hey, what you're saying is so untrue, stop talking?
Okay, so a lot of things, happened in that moment that were not shown. So in that moment, like production had been aware of Jen saying this information for quite some time. I mean,
Hmm.
maybe 6 months to a year. It's hard to remember timing because there's so much time that goes on in between seasons. But they had been aware of this for a while.
Mm,
Um, and for so long, I kept saying, all I know is what Jen told me. Like, if you guys want more information, you have to get this from Jen. I don't know who this person is. Like, I don't know anything. All I know is this very, very little information that she told me. So they had been trying to pressure me to talk about this forever. Like, they wanted me to bring it up at the last reunion. And I was like, I don't have anything to bring up. Like, this is ridiculous. So then, um, the pressure keeps building. And when we were out in Pioneer Town, they had at that point they had told me, "Oh, we have the footage of Jen confronting Emma at the party. We have the footage." And to
mm,
me, it was like, "Oh, okay," because again, Jen had told me, before she even told me at the party, like I had just gone to confront Emma, right? So in my head, Emma had been aware before I had, right?
yeah.
So now in Pioneer Town, they're telling me they're going to show this footage. And I still was like, guys, I was like, I know how this is going to work out for me. Like, this is not going to work out well. Like, I'm not stupid. And they were getting pissed because, you
Production.
know, yes, because
Got it.
without that, the whole Pioneer Town trip was kind
It
of
was for
for
nothing.
nothing. For nothing. Yeah. So at a certain point, so they're just like, Nicole, you have to, Nicole, you have to. And I'm like, I'm not, this is ridiculous. I'm not saying anything. Also, if Mary and Amanda are aware of this as well, like, why is why is this all on me?
Yeah.
And they're the ones, they're friends with Emma. I'm not. Like, this is not going to go well for me. So then at a certain point, production was so pissed, they had the other 3 girls leave the table, meaning Alana, Mary, and Amanda, and they sat across from me because you know how they can do with editing,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and they were just trying to get me to say, the name Emma, and I was like, "Guys, I know what you're doing." Like, they're like, "Okay, just tell us again what happened, like, with Jen. Just tell us again." And I'm like, "You're baiting me. I know, like, no." So then one of the producers starts screaming at me and says, "If you don't say this, your job on the show is in jeopardy. If you want a spot on the show, you have to say this. Do your job, Nicole. Do your fucking job." So
Wow.
then that's when you see me, like, I'm like writhing in my chair and I'm like, and I'm so awkward, and because and now I just feel like I'm pushed into a corner. And then Mary and Amanda knew I'd just been yelled at because they were just, right around the corner. They knew the situation I was in. They knew I didn't want to talk about it. They knew the situation, with Emma,
Yeah.
and everyone just kind of hugging me out to dry. So it was just the whole thing was so uncomfortable in every possible way. And like I knew, it didn't work out so well for me.
Right. And I think it's mind blowing to me, which I already knew, like assumed, I guess you could say. I assumed that I knew, right? But you forget that there's times when it's like, okay, everyone leaves set. We just need Nicole by herself. And so it's
Hmm.
crazy to me to think like, mother effers, y'all all knew what happened on set. Y'all all knew what I was going through. And to your point, I've heard you say so many times, I've been left out to dry. And I've
Yeah.
protected people and they left me out to dry. So now it's starting to, the dots are slowly connecting. My
Yeah.
next question about that drama or that situation with Emma, and trust me, this podcast is not going to be at Emma because not worth our time. However, I am curious to know as far as we when the season starts, Emma says, and again, you may not know this to truth because you've only heard hearsay, right? But Emma
Hmm.
says, when I realized his intentions, I drew a boundary. So immediately as a viewer, I was like, so what were those intentions? How did you know there were? So I guess my point here is that there was clearly a situation that happened for you to know that there were
Right.
intentions behind this relationship. So on your end, do you think there is some truth behind her reaction that she did draw a boundary, or from all that that's not truly what happened?
Um, I mean, I'm honestly, I don't know because again,
Yeah.
like the information I've always had has been very little. I mean, obviously, that confirmed to me that something was going on, whether it
Mhm.
was on him or not. Like there's definitely some gray area, which would also make sense, like in the most absolutely innocent of things that came to fruition in terms of that situation. Something happened where a wife would have been upset. Now the
Right, right.
details
Some
beyond that,
uncomfortability.
like,
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
right, 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 right.
Mhm. Okay. So now that brings me. I really this I'm kind of baffled because the season when it starts, y'all are all in the office. If you can recall, you're all in the office,
Hmm.
and Amanda rolls over to you, and Amanda says, "Hey, like, have you talked to Emma?" Right. So I know that y'all know what you're filming. I know that you know kind of the dialogue that's gonna be had on set. I would imagine at least a roundabout ish way. When Amanda rolls over to you, it seems like in that moment you are completely like no, like you're kind of just you kind of like shrug it off. Um, and you answered this already, but you hadn't had a conversation with Nicole since last season, but let's talk about that day that you're filming before. Had you talked to her on set? What is that dynamic like? Do y'all show up to the office and you're all kind of standing there awkwardly, or they keep you separated?
Like, you mean to Amanda or Emma?
Just to Emma, to anyone actually that's in the office
Oh,
that day, where
oh,
you guys, you know what I mean? Is it kind of like y'all all
yeah,
walk in
yeah.
the true way that they show it, or are y'all on set for a minute and you've all had conversations with each other before the cameras start filming?
So, in terms of that scene, I hadn't talked to anyone other than Jason and Brett. I hadn't
Oh,
talked to Amanda. I hadn't talked to Mary. Um, and the production's very intentional with how they do this. Like, for example, for that scene, they like, my call time was whatever it was, 11, and they had Mary and Amanda show up 30 or 45 minutes later because they didn't want us like, getting our mics, putting our mics on and hanging out, like chatting before camera started rolling. So
Got it.
they're intentional with how they have like the timeline of when people show up. And there's sometimes where, it doesn't matter. But most of the time it's an intentional thing, especially if they don't want you to have any discussions before, cameras start rolling.
Yeah, they wanna catch every single tidbit, every sound bite, and
Yeah.
after I you know, I guess once y'all are done filming, specifically that scene, once you're done filming, w do y'all I would imagine emotions are high all the time, and never if I feel like there's never a scene that you guys film where it's like, "Oh, happy-go-lucky," right? So, like, when
Rarely.
scenes are yeah, like, when scenes are done, is it kinda like, "Alright, bitch, like, let's talk about this," or is it just kinda like, "I'm out, like, t my mic is off and I'm leaving?"
Usually the latter. My mic off and
Mm,
then peace. Yeah. Um, I before I joined the show, I was aware a lot of the girls would have a lot more discussions with each other off camera as they
mhm.
continue to film. But unfortunately, like things are just so separated, and I don't know. There's such a lack of trust, and what's real isn't real, and
Mm.
there's just so yeah, there's some people, don't get me wrong, some people definitely, I'm sure they have conversations all the time off camera, while we're filming, but for me, a lot of times it's like I just mic off and then I get back to my real life
Yeah.
as quickly as
You're a
quickly as
lone ranger.
possible.
Yeah, you're a
Yeah,
lone ranger
yeah.
on and that's been since you started the season since started Selling Sunset, or was it in the latter seasons, like these past couple seasons?
I mean, definitely more so in the later seasons.
Mm,
I'll say though, it was weird though, even like, back to season 6 when I first joined, and, other than let's see, at that point, other than Chelsea and Chriselle, I had years-long relationships with everyone.
yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be easy, this is gonna be fun," like, I know all these people already, but, like, I think as soon as I joined, all of a sudden there was a bit of, like, an element of threat from other
Yeah,
people,
oh,
and
for
I don't
sure.
know even just from friends where it was just kind of like I don't know, it was just it was weird. It wasn't like the welcome really, or that I was
Mm,
intending to have, because even someone like Heather, I've known Heather actually longer than I've known Mary and Amanda. Now I was a
okay.
lot closer with Mary and Amanda, but like it was almost like as soon as I joined the show, it was like as if we hadn't known each other for the last 12 years. So it was just I was not expecting that, and that was kind of like, oh, huh, okay,
Yeah, it's
it's still
almost
me, guys.
yeah, it's almost like it sounds like it was like, "Oh, you weren't a part of this club." You know what I mean? And now you're a
Right.
part of this club, so we're gonna haze you in a sense, right? Like, you have to go through this
Yeah.
initiation. It's like, "Bitch, I been knowing you," you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's really all I wanted to touch on with the Emma situation because, again, I don't think it's worth that much attention. I think that
Yeah.
as a viewer, we can kinda see behind the lines, right? But I do want to get to and get it out of the way because I know everyone wants to know what happened at Girls Giving, and you know. Now knowing and hearing what you've said prior to filming, there everything is intentional, which we've kind of figured, right? Obviously, down to the seating chart, right? But at Girls Giving, things were already tense. We're watching it. I'm curious to know from your mouth, we start to see, when you guys are opening up the cards, right? Immediately, the comment from Chriselle is, "Oh my gosh, did you guys plan this?" I am very aware, and I think the viewers are aware to know that y'all have mics on. Did you hear her say that? I know it sounds like she says it loud on the show, but you were on the other side of the table, catty corner, right? I can't tell if it was said under her breath. So talk to me about those moments, but then also what was the feeling behind the scenes with production as you got set for that scene?
Yeah. So, yes, I very much did hear her say that. Um, that so that dinner was a lot. But okay, so going into that situation, I was a little apprehensive. I was a little hesitant. I was a little, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. However, first got there and it was all of us except for Chriselle and Emma. It looks like they come in like 5 minutes after. They came in like an hour and a half later, right? So
Oh, wow.
for like an hour and a half, we were all just laughing, having a good time, chatting, like, and I was like, "Oh, this is great. Like, perfect. This is the exact kind of night like we needed." And
Yeah.
frankly, it was the first time, you know, because Mary and Amanda had distanced themselves from me after season 8 because of the Emma thing, but it was the first time I was hanging out with Mary and Amanda where I was like, "Oh, great. We're kind of back to
Yeah.
normal."
The
So,
game's back together.
it
Game's back together. Yeah.
yeah, or just like it just felt very it just felt normal and actually, like a fun girls' night. So it was like, "Oh, great." I didn't know if Emma or Chriselle were even coming. And,
Oh,
because Chriselle had made that huge public, statement about she's not gonna come back at the show, she's not gonna film with me ever again. So I was kind of also like, okay, great. Like, A, I don't know if she's even coming back on the show, but B, what a blessing it would be if I don't have to film with her this entire
right.
season. Like, thank you very much. So when they showed up, it was like, oh, really? And as soon as they walked over to the table, it was like a dark cloud followed them, and
Mm.
the vibe and the energy just immediately changed. And you could feel her just,
She came in
seething
hot.
anger
She
towards
came in
me. Yeah.
hot. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's what my follow-up to is that I know that the producers are in y'all's ear. I know that, prior to you filming something with, let's say, Mary, I've heard through other podcasts and other interviews that producers may or may not say, "Hey, did you hear what Mary was talking to so and so about you?" or whatever, right? They kind of get you going before you walk
Yeah.
into that moment.
Hmm.
So sorry to interrupt, but I needed it to be seen, or for you to know, which it is a very well-known thing for the fans of like Chris Show unnecessarily came in. Like it was just very aggressive. So you felt
Hmm.
that immediately. When she walked in,
Oh,
that
yeah.
energy was already felt. Okay. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And in that moment too, because I was like, okay, we what I thought had a come to Jesus moment in season 8. You know,
Yes.
we've at least repaired that. We're not going to be friends, but we can peacefully coexist. So when she came in that way, I was like, I am not doing this. So
Mm,
what you don't see is probably like another 30-40 minutes of her just coming at me over and over and over, and coming at Catherine super hard. And I like she would just make all these snide remarks, and I just was pretending I couldn't hear anything. I wouldn't make eye contact with her. I wouldn't. She got no reaction out of me. I just completely ignored her.
wow.
Oh boy, that did not work. The more I ignored her, and the more I didn't engage, and the more she didn't get the reaction out of me, that's she kept upping it and upping it and upping it, and
Mm,
like so it was like I was damned if I do or damned if I don't. Like she was there for a reaction. And
mhm.
there was no, you know, like just
You knew what you were
ignoring
getting. You knew
her.
what yep. You knew what you were in. You knew you had been cornered, essentially, right? Like, for lack of better words. The,
I knew she was, she was trying to get a reaction out of me. And again, that's
yeah.
why like, it just kept going on and on. And it was like me ignoring her just made her angrier instead of, moving on to something else. She was just doubled
Yeah,
down.
kept digging. I guess, and you may not be able to even answer this, but I like to hopefully give humanity. Like, I have hope for humanity, as we discussed earlier. Part of me is like, I really hope the producers told her to do that, because I can't fathom someone really just doing, digging and digging it. Like, and I would like to hear your perspective on, do you think there was a conversation of, hey, we're looking for this, so don't stop until you get it? Or do you truly think that this is coming from only Chriselle? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, in this situation, I think it was based on Chriselle,
Yeah.
because most of the time, like in a scene, I mean, in every scene, like production will like they'll stop. they'll be like, hey, okay, like they'll pull me aside or pull someone aside or like whisper something in your ear or be like, hey, can you touch on this, or we need you to bring up this, or like, hey girls, we need you guys to discuss this. Like they're always interjecting in scenes, like
Hmm.
multiple times. This scene, they didn't interject one time, like one time.
Oh, wow.
And I think that is the only scene that I've been a
Yeah.
part of that has ever happened. So that was
Mm.
they just let the cameras roll, which is not normal.
And yeah, okay, so we'll fast forward. Obviously, everyone knows what was going on. Did the conversation though after? So we see her open the cards. You talk about how you're thankful for your eyesight, and of course, she makes the comment about that, which I don't know if you heard in that moment, but whatever. I'm sure you did. And then the conversation just escalates really quickly for us, right? Meaning the viewer sees that conversation go from 0
Mhm.
to 100, which is very obvious. Things were edited out. So do you remember? It's been a minute, but do you remember prior to the conversation, then the whole suggestion of you being drugged up or whatever the hell she said or they said, do you remember how it got to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was saying previously. Like they cut out Chriselle attacking me and Catherine even more than you saw.
Mm.
I mean, she went hard on Catherine. She went hard on both of us,
And
and
why Catherine?
the,
Sorry, why Catherine?
um, because anyone who might potentially join the show, or is
Yeah,
even
I
just
get it.
brought on for different scenes. Like I think Catherine was in more scenes than they ended up showing.
Hmm.
That's always seems to be a threat to Chriselle.
Which we've seen. Yeah,
sh-
territorial
she
for sure.
doesn't she doesn't like it, and I think she also likes to make it clear, like, hey, I'm the top bitch. You get in line, or there's going to be some problems.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, Catherine's a sweetheart. I don't know why she just went off on her like that, but this happens in so many different scenes where they cut out a lot of what attacking Chriselle does because it looks too bad,
Yeah.
and they can't have their protagonist like just going off on people. And I think because she's done it for so long and knows that is going to work in her favor, she
Hmm.
knows she can say just some of the nastiest things. And yeah, they'll put some in, but like they won't show all of it because
And
that's going to make it
yeah,
hard for them to continue having her be, the main character, if you will.
yeah, and was that understood when was it understood that when she was casted or brought into the office rather as well? Was it understood? Did everyone kind of have an understanding of like, oh, that's the new girl who's gonna kind of be the main character of Selling Sunset, or did you just kind of figure it out through trial and error? You know what I mean? Or is there connections in production somehow? Because now seeing the full stories, I mean, so many seasons in, it's like, dang, like you're out of if you really think about it, every single one of the cast has been made to be a villain except Chriselle at some point.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
did you guys know that early on?
I mean, again, I wasn't like part of the cast back
Yeah.
then, but from my understanding, talking to the others, that at least for her, yes, that
Mm,
she was brought on as main. And the funny thing is, like, apparently now these are people that we've never met, and I'm sure we'll
yeah.
never meet, but apparently each one of us has like a full-time storyboarder, like
Mm,
who basically, comes up with what narrative and storyline they want us to have. So all those things, obviously things happen in real time, which can shift things a bit, but like
yeah.
how will be portrayed, like all of it is intentional and predetermined, if you will.
Yeah, 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 I would imagine. And so okay, so before I get into this next question, I am curious. This just popped in my head. Were you ever friendly with Chriselle? Prior
Um,
to drama we know of from the past, which we'll get into later, but
yeah.
were you ever friendly?
So after she and Jason had like come out publicly saying that they were together,
Yeah.
um, and realizing at the time, how serious their relationship was, um, that is when I kind of had a shift in my head because it was like, okay, if someone that you're very close to and have known for a very, very long time, meaning Jason, is in this very, very serious relationship, like you have two options. You can either have a mindset shift and, try to be cool with this person, for your relationship with Jason.
Mhm.
Or, if you don't get along with this person and you don't make any effort, like then that is going to affect your relationship with Jason.
Mhm.
So, again, while they're together, like, yeah, I think we both made an effort to be friendly, and we were. I don't, I wouldn't say our relationship was definitely nothing more than, very friendly acquaintances. But yeah, there was a time, but I would say for sure on both of our ends, um, it was because of our, you know, relationship with Jason.
Yeah, yeah, which is just respectable. I mean, at the end of the day, you did
Yeah,
what you had to do for a friend that you've known for a long time. So going
yeah,
back to Friendsgiving, and we are not going to speed through this, but just get through it as best as we can. So there's been a lot of conversation about if you took it too far, or did she take it too far? I mean, especially since the season has come out, right? Like everyone has an opinion, which to
yeah,
each his own, right? I guess for me, and I I was a little taken back in hindsight, right? Like once you see the season over, and as a viewer, I'm reflecting and getting ready for this interview, and really just trying to understand all the ins and outs of what happened. I'm I want to put myself in your shoes, and I want to talk to you about that because I. I I'll let you kind of take the floor in a second, but this is what I assume in my brain happened. I assume that if I'm Nicole, excuse my language, but I can't fucking stand you, Chriselle, right? And you are coming for me this entire dinner for an hour on end or whatever, however long it was. And I'm trying to get away. I'm trying to ignore it. And now you piss me off, and I'm going to go for the jugular. I can speak to to that because as a person, Ruben, myself, it takes a lot to offend me. Once I get to a point, I'm going to go for the jugular. So the way that I dissect it in my brain is the only way I know how to hurt you is to go after something that I know you love, your pets, your dog, your family, your mom, whoever, right? The way that I see it is that you weren't thinking completely right, as we do as humans because we're so clouded. And you said, I think you're confusing me with your parents, because as a human, we know if you bring up someone's parents, it's going to hurt them. It is very, at least for me, clear that at the top of your brain, it was almost like, oh yeah, you're mistaking me for your parents. And in that hindsight, in that moment, you probably were like, oh shit. I wasn't even trying to go for her. I forgot that her parents are no longer here. That's what the feeling I got. I got, okay, I'm coming for you. And then immediately it backfired, right? Because again, it wasn't at top of mind that her parents were deceased. Is that kind of the train of thought, or am I completely off?
I don't know. No, I'd say you're pretty close. Yeah, again, in that moment, it was like I could all the jabs she was coming at me with. It was just like whatever, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
But then to come at me with the stuff that I've been accused of every single season again, like I have to deal with this again. I I had just had enough when it came to that. Like I've had enough having to defend myself in the public. And every time I do defend myself, it's not like it helps. It's not like
Yeah.
anyone's, mind is changed. And that sucks. Like that's something I've had to deal with for a long time. So I like I if she had, in my head of like if she goes there, like we're gonna have some problems.
Yeah.
And because again, anything else I can just brush off, right?
Yeah.
And then when she went there, I just obviously it was like an in the moment reaction. And, everything else I've ever said to her about that has never stopped it. And, I again remember her bringing that up, and I was just like, I'm going to show you this mirror, meaning what you're
Hmm.
projecting. I'm going to show
Yep.
you this mirror, and you know, hopefully this gets you to shut up for
Hmm.
once. And again, like that, like her parents not being alive, like that wasn't even in my brain. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
I wasn't even around when her parents like it just wasn't even in my radar.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was like, stop, like this obsession with substances has nothing to do with me, and I'm sick of being your public pawn for this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's again where that came from, and you can see in that moment too, like, unfortunately she stopped. It worked. Not that there
Yeah.
was like a
Yeah.
whole lot of it wasn't like it was a pre-planned thing. I don't think any of that dinner
Yeah.
was pre-planned, but and I also think if you look at her reaction like closely, she was stunned, but she didn't really react until she saw everyone else reacting, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I'm curious after you made that comment, and was it immediate the way we see it in the show of, okay, you be quiet, you gotta leave, Amanda pops off, Mary pops off, everyone's now, panties are in a twist, which again, rightfully so, I understand. It is valid to jump in for your friend. I'm not gonna knock that. But was it truly what we saw? Because I mean, there was commotion.
No, what you saw is exactly what happened. I mean, it
Wow.
was it was it was immediate. And that's also, I mean, and so many people have asked me too, like, why did you stay? Why didn't you leave? Why did you keep sitting there? Well, there's a lot of reasons. But initially I was like, hold on. Like, uh, you know, because they were like, her dead parents. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I need to make this very clear
Hmm.
what I was pointing out. It was the projection. This has nothing to do, So initially it was like, you guys need to understand what my intentions were and what my intentions were not.
Yeah.
Um, because what everyone was freaking out about is like, I'm making fun of someone's parents who had passed, which I don't care
Yeah.
how much I dislike someone. I would never do that. It had
Yeah.
nothing to do with that. So initially I'm trying to explain what my intentions are. That clearly didn't work. Um, and then well, what you didn't see was, so first of all, in that restaurant, there was a whole other side of the restaurant, um,
Hmm.
of regular patrons, like
Oh, okay.
people, like regular people, a whole restaurant full of them. So Amanda went over to them and screamed at the top of her lungs, "Nicole Young from Selling Sunset overdosed." And I'm sitting there.
Hold on. I'm so sorry, Nicole. Wait. And
Yeah.
this is so after everything pops off, she
hmm She now
reacts.
now
And
now she wants to humiliate me in front of the restaurant, and I'm just sitting there like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" Like, this is someone I used to consider a friend. So I'm sitting there just humiliated and absolutely in shock. And in that moment, I'm like, "Fuck you guys. I'm not
yeah.
gonna have you further humiliate me. I'm gonna sit here for a minute until I can, calm myself and
Hmm.
walk out of here with my head held high and composed, because like it was just them trying to control it, and again, just trying to embarrass and humiliate me in any way they
Yeah.
can. And the other thing you didn't see was, so then when I stood up and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. I When we sat down at the table, I had never left. I didn't go to the bar. I didn't go to the bathroom. Like, I sat there the whole time until I walked out. My purse and my phone were next to me the entire time on top of the table. In the commotion, I still don't know who, someone stole my purse and my phone. And so
Wow.
production's like, go, okay, we'll have you call a car. And then I was like, wait, where's my phone? Where's my bag? And to this day, still don't know who did it or what they were trying to do. But yeah,
Wait,
I
hold on.
couldn't.
You never recuperated it? Like you never got it back?
No, I got it back. Production finally, it took them like 10, 12 minutes. And I was like, one of the producers brought it back to me and I was like, well, they first brought my purse back. And I go, okay, my phone's still missing. And they're like, oh, okay. And I go, once they finally brought both back, I go, who took this? Like, and they go, I don't, like, they wouldn't tell me. So that was pretty infuriating as well. But
Another
at that point, I was
another
like, I have
another
my
yeah.
stuff and I just want to get out. Just get me out of here. Get me out of here.
Yep. Yep. It
So
was all intentional, to your point. The favorite word of it all is intentional, right? But
yeah.
yeah, it makes sense now knowing, the situation with Amanda that you just discussed. Did that happen after she's in your face at the table? So after that
Uh-huh.
little moment, she got up and went to the patrons, or was it
Yeah.
because you never know in what order this stuff happens.
Yeah. It was after she's up in my face. And then, yeah, she went and just announced. I was like,
Wow.
unreal.
Let me
Unreal.
ask you this. Let me ask you this, because for me, human to human, again, we've talked off camera
Oh,
a little bit. I'm pretty genuine here. I want to ask you, human to human, like I don't even think you should be sorry, right? First and foremost, I don't think anyone should be sorry. That you should feel valid in however you said, how moved, reacted, whatever the case. But
mhm.
my question to you is, do you feel like you ever owed her to say, hey, Chriselle, like, look, like I said before, I don't like you. You don't like me. Like, I am so sorry that you thought I was coming for your parents who were deceased. But that's not what I meant. I was trying to hurt you. I think that's what America or Tan at the reunion, which we'll get to later, they were trying to pull out of you. And everyone, and we'll talk about reunion later, but everyone's frustrated that Nicole's not saying, sorry, but I don't think you want to say sorry. And that's okay. But did you ever think, okay, maybe I'll say it in a way that gets my point across, or have you? Is that something that we haven't seen?
I mean, in the reunion, that I was out there for such a short time, which was frustrating in and of itself. But
Right.
that's what I was, the point I was trying to get across. Because like, here's the thing with me, like, I I don't do fake apologies. I think they're completely pointless. Even if it's to save face or would be a good PR move, like if you're not sorry, don't pretend to be sorry. And that's why, again, in that moment, it was like, I'm sorry for the false intentions that you thought I had, because I was not mocking your parents. I was not mocking grief or loss. That's not something I would ever do. I was pointing out, that you are projecting this on me. And I'm not sorry for bringing that up, for pointing that out. Um, and that's why, like, it's frustrating when people are just like pushing you to apologize. It's like, would it mean anything if I did say it and I didn't mean it? I've
Yeah.
had situations in the past with Chriselle, where I've been like, that was not that was not genuine. And I know it wasn't genuine because the next opportunity she had to bring it back up again, she does. And I'm like,
Yep.
see?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So
I
I just
was thinking the same
doing
thing.
things just to save face doesn't carry any weight. And I am a genuine person, and when I do apologize, it means something because I mean it. And
Yep.
that's how I am on and off camera. Like, that's just who I am. And
Yeah.
some people might not like it, but that's who I am.
It's what you get. Yeah. I mean, and I guess I want to touch on, I don't want to, I'm not going to give any more energy to this allegation of you overdosing and drugs and all that. I do want to point out something though. There's been a lot of conversation about that situation in your past, and how, Amanda had claimed that she had seen you do drugs, which we see that at the reunion, she admits blatantly that she heard it from someone. She had never seen it with her own eyes, right? The follow up to that, what's baffling to me, and I don't even know if viewers that are watching have put this together yet. What's crazy to me is that everyone is so upset at Nicole, and now knowing the truth behind it all, right? They're not really upset because they all knew
Right.
the same thing you did, but whatever. The
Hmm.
narrative is that everyone is upset with Nicole for taking hearsay, quote unquote, as truth, but no one is crucifying Amanda for taking what she heard for truth, right? She got to just say it on the reunion and willy-nilly move it on. No one, literally to this day, no one's talking about it. No one is upset at Amanda. I'm not saying they should attack her or anything, but even on cast, no, I mean, from what I see, right? Again, maybe you guys have your
Hmm.
own conversations, but, and that's not even for me, for you to respond to. It's more for me to just acknowledge that for your sake. And if I'm acknowledging it, I feel like the rest of the viewers have to have seen that correlation. Because again, I don't want to put any more light on the fact that you quote unquote overdose. I just don't think that we need to even discuss that because we know the
Hmm.
truth already, right? Um,
Exactly.
but
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like that was just brushed over by everybody, and the host included. It was like, you're not you're not going to dig into that a little more. Like, what
yeah,
in the world? And even worse, I can't remember where she said this. I can't remember where she said this. If it was in the reunion or if it was a voice memo to me, I can't remember. But the fact that she said that about me in the moment, saying that we used to do it together because she was mad at what I said about Emma. So, like, the lack of logic in that, and to make to say such a damaging and defamatory thing like that, knowing it's not true, to to jab me with, like, that part just,
it's
I'll never be able
diabolical,
to.
honestly.
It's fucking
It's yeah,
diabolical.
it's crazy. It'd be different if we're talking about getting high. If we're smoking weed, it's freaking legal in California, right? Like
Yes!
we're talking about
Yes!
hard drugs here. You know what I mean? Like that is a little
Exactly,
bit different.
exactly.
Okay,
And I've always
and
been a very open, yeah, exactly, exactly.
it, and I kind of want to wrap up the talk about the girls giving dinner or whatever, but after things and you didn't leave right away, we now know why you didn't. There was a lot of forces at hand, from your purse being stolen to kind of trying to save face, right, in front of not save face, but really control yourself because you knew cameras were rolling, and at this point, it sounds like production had footage of the whole Emma situation, so they store this shit in the vault. So I would imagine you're very aware of like, okay, well, I cannot lose my shit because if I do at some point, this could rear its ugly head, right? But I guess to kind of put a bow on that conversation about girls giving, it's obvious, right? They kind of remove you from the season, right? You're kind of nowhere to be
Mhm.
found after the whole situation happens. Was that something that production said, hey, we're gonna do this, or was it like I don't know how you see the season, but when you finally get to see the season, you're like, oh, I didn't know we were doing that.
Yeah, okay, so I filmed this scene with Jason and Brett, and like a lot of scenes, they have us do it different ways, like,
Hmm.
so basically, like, in the moment, they're like, "Hey, we think you should just take some time away from the office," and I'm like, "Great." That's what, that's normal life, meaning it's not like we come in every day, so I was like, "Okay, cool." I also knew, like, it was or assumed, like, it was for storyline. So then before we wrap the scene, they're like, "Okay, just do it one more time, but, like, Nicole, you need to be angrier. You need to, like, storm out, like, don't hug them
Okay.
goodbye, So they're like, just amp it up. And I said to Jason and Brett in the moment, I go, "Dude, if we do this, they're gonna make it look like I'm fired." And they're like, "No, no, 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 don't worry, don't worry. No, I'm not gonna do that." And they're like, just give them this option. I was like, this is the option they're gonna use, right?
Right,
It's
right.
like, and so basically they didn't have my back on that. They're like, just it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Like, just do it. So I was like, okay. So we did that. And then, we wrap the scene. I'm demiked. I leave. And Jason calls me and he's like, "Hey, I just want to make this super clear to you. Like, nothing has changed. That was just for storyline. You can come into the office anytime you want. Like, nothing has changed. You're one of my best agents. Like, I just want to make sure that's clear to you. And I was like, cool. Yeah. Thank you. So then, and then not, and then we had like a break for holidays. And I think like the fires, happened
Yeah.
not long after that. So anyways, then TMZ randomly reaches out to me and they're like, hey, we just want to get like a comment from you about you being fired from the show. And I go,
Oh
I'm
shit.
sorry, what? I go, this is news to me. So then I call production. I go, "Hey guys, um, I TMZ just called me and wanted me to comment on why I was fired from the show. I'm sorry, I'm not aware of this. Was I fired from the show?" And they go, "No, no, 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 no. You were absolutely not fired from the show. You're still very much a cast member. Nothing has changed. We're just figuring out, we're just figuring out storylines and how we're gonna do things. And also like you know, I think it'd be good. Things have just gotten so contentious and just really, really toxic. I think, for your own protection, maybe just take a hot minute, away from the situations with certain people, while we figure out, storylines." And I was like, okay, that's fair. So that was my understanding from Jason and from production. So when I
Mm,
saw the show, and in the next scene, they showed Jason and Brett telling the office basically that I've been asked to leave, and everyone
yeah.
assumes like I've been fired. Like I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was pissed. I called Jason. Oof, hot and pissed because I was like, "Dude, why?" Like, the way this is shown to the world is that I was fired. Like, you don't think this is gonna have, effects on my business, on my reputation? I'm moving, on business in a new city that I haven't even gotten to yet. Like, this is fucked up. Um, and he basically was like, I don't think many people believe it. It'll blow over. Like, don't worry about it." And I'm like, okay, so no one cares. Great. Thanks.
Yeah, left out to dry, essentially. It sounds
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
the theme here,
Yeah.
Um, okay, so you we've already talked about how you've been, portrayed as the villain. Some even are saying like, okay, Christine left the show. Now they needed a new Christine, right? Which it sounds very like that, right? Speaking of, do you have a relationship with Christine? Were y'all friends when she was
Oh,
on when she was at the
I mean,
office?
we've been friends years before the show. Like
Similar to
she's a very,
Mary.
very,
Yeah, like
very
similar
close
to
friend of mine.
Mary, Amanda.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, yeah.
loved Christine. Yeah.
Okay. And so you kind of learned early on, right? Your role as the quote unquote villain, I guess, right?
Not
Did you
honestly until I saw season 6. I
okay.
Yeah, I really didn't know. Now, maybe that was me just being naive, but
Mhm.
especially based on like what I filmed and what no, I was quite shocked. I was quite shocked.
Wow. And okay, so let's talk about this season. There's a couple scenes I want to dive into, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on them. I just want you to be
Yeah.
able to give some clarity on them. There's the scene where you and Mary meet for, I guess, brunch, lunch, whatever. You both have your dogs, and you're
Mhm.
kind of talking, and that conversation is edited. I mean, I can see as a viewer, edited so heavily because it's like 2 minutes. All of a sudden,
Right.
oh, okay, conversation's over. I would
Peace.
imagine now hearing you guys just get up and leave. And it's like, what? I even remember looking and like your food was moved. You like it was obvious that you
Yeah.
weren't just there for the 5 minutes, right? Talk to
No.
me about what really happened in that conversation because it's depicted as if, oh my God, I can't deal with you. We're not coming to an agreement, and I'm leaving. Was that truly
Yeah.
how that conversation went?
No, definitely not. That whole conversation was like an hour long. Now, obviously, they're not gonna never show the full thing,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I so what you see at the beginning of the conversation, was accurate. I can't remember exactly what Mary said, but like, have you talked to anyone? And I don't think you understand, how serious it was what you said. And then the conversation shifted because um and that's kind of where you see my reaction, like I'm not having it and I'm starting to get
Hmm.
kind of ticked off because then Mary, like, she busts out mouth tape apparently it's some, I don't know exactly what mouth shape, some beauty thing, but she's
Yeah,
like,
to like sleep
"Oh, by the
with,
way,
like,
I
yeah.
yeah, I brought you a gift." And she's like, "Here's mouth tape." She's like, "Next time, you just need to come into a scene, with your with your mouth taped shut. Like, just next time, like, you wanna open your mouth, just put the mouth tape on." And she's laughing hysterically, and I'm just sitting there, like, not amused, not liking the condescending,
Understood.
language
Wow.
one bit. And that's why I'm like, "Do you think you're being a good friend? Like, do you think this is being a good friend? Like, this is now a joke to you?" So yeah, there was a lot more that went on, that you didn't see. And of course, too, like, they had me leave a few different ways,
Oh, yeah.
and of course, they always like to use, the most dramatic
Dramatic.
one.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, and that makes sense though, because then at the end of the season, it almost feels it's very when Mary goes over to your house, I could feel the tension. It felt like it was two people that were friends. It was awkward because we both know, or it almost felt like you both knew, like we're forced to do this, but we do have a past, so we do love each other. We have love for each other, but it felt very not forced, but forced, right? Um, and I guess there's been a lot of now knowing, right? Like all the crap that's been thrown at you. I think there's been a lot of harsh words thrown between all the cast, right? Like
Oh, of
even
course.
with, obviously like with between there's the drama between Brie and Chriselle, there's the drama between Chelsea and Mary. There's so many cast members that have all their issues, right?
Mhm.
And I guess for me, do you think any of it is just for the show, or is there pretty much truth to all the drama between the cast members?
Unfortunately, the drama part, uh, all of them are the most real aspects of the show.
Wow, wow.
Unfortunately,
Mhm.
yeah, those feelings are real in every situation. Yeah.
Do you see favoritism in how the show kind of treats conflict? I know we know that Chriselle has some favoritism there, but when it comes, because I'll be honest, like Brie got a break this season. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Brie kind of got a little bit of a breather, if you will. Do you
Mhm.
is there conversations prior to filming of like, I don't know if you sit with Adam or you sit with any of the creators or the producers and say like, hey, there's a lot of shit going on in my life right now. Like, can you please? Or do you guys veer away from that because that's like some ammo and they know to go in harder? You know what I mean?
So they have conversations with all of us, before any new season, like usually several conversations. They take notes about everything. They pick up on anything, like before season 9. They were like, "So, like, have you talked to Mary?"
Oh
Because
yeah.
Mary was very, very public. The only reason I knew what what Mary felt about me at the time was because she had been doing like a publicity tour and just, telling me. So like that's the only reason I knew. So they have their notes, they pick up on different little things. They're always watching social media and so they ask very
Pointed.
intentional,
Yeah.
pointed, yes, questions. And then they're also just like, catch up, like what's new in your life, what you know from business to relationships to work stuff. They want to get as much information, ammo, tea as they can,
Yeah.
so they can use that and weave that into storylines and narratives.
Well, let's make this a little bit more light. I say lighthearted, right? None of this shit can be lighthearted because it's just so
I
ridiculous. But
know.
let's
I
go
know.
back. This whole season, we kind of know, and I also have to let you know, it was very obvious as a viewer when they told you to leave the office. They were very specific
Oh,
about
you
the
cut out, you
words
cut
they
out.
used. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you said I was very obvious as what?
Oh, it was very obvious that they chose specific words when removing you from the office, right? They said, we asked her, you were going to ask you
Right.
to leave the office, right? So as an agent,
Right.
right, I can see like, oh, they didn't say they're going to, remove your sponsorship or fire you. It was very obvious that it was for the show.
Right.
So, however,
Yeah.
not everyone is as on it as some of us viewers. So with that being said, at least I can give you some comfort in knowing that I remember as a viewer being like, wait, they didn't fire her. And then even when they told the cast, they were like, oh, well, we've asked her to leave the office. Of course, it was like this huge party, right? Everyone's like, oh, well, we don't feel bad or whatever it
Right.
was. So anyways, I
Right.
digress. I want to go before we wrap up this episode. I want to make sure we touch on past seasons because, in past seasons when y'all went to, Pioneer Town, I mean, there's been so many isms, so many unnecessary, if you will, conversations that shouldn't have happened. But one thing I remember you talking about on your TikTok specifically is in past seasons you've done a lot to protect other cast members. You've kept your mouth shut about a lot of different instances. I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing any of those instances. You don't have to go dive in because I don't want to open up another can of worms for you. But what did you mean by that?
I mean, without going into like specifics, but like yeah, Amanza for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
I'll say this, like I know like back in season 6, back to Palm Springs where this all
yeah,
started.
mm-hmm,
Um I think Rochelle bet on the fact that I wouldn't throw my friends under the bus and reveal the truth and reveal who she's actually talking about because
mm,
they're my friends. And she was right. She was absolutely right. She was right. And so there was that. Um, season 8, it was Jen, Jason and
mm-hmm,
Brett's
yeah,
cousin. I was protecting her until she publicly just threw me under the bus and completely changed her story. But that's why I just, I think I just kept saying like a credible source, like I didn't
yeah,
say
yeah,
who it was, and obviously that didn't help. Not necessarily the fact that saying who it was helped, but at least it's like this is now you guys understand what I mean by you know credible source, their
mm-hmm,
cousin, someone I've been friends with for a long time, someone who is best friends with so-called wife.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just situations like that, and a lot of times, like I said, it's put me in a difficult position because it's like, it's like you have to make a decision,
Mhm, mhm. No, I agree. I
and
I
it's tough.
I I see the situation and the shoes that you have filled, and it is not for the weak. You at the reunion, you mentioned on TikTok that you were kept waiting in that separate trailer. You were there for, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You said you were there for like 7, 8, 9 hours. You were there all day, right?
10 hours, 10 hours.
That is in for anyone that didn't maybe see that video on TikTok, you get to the reunion, you get to your trailer, you're getting your hair and makeup done, and you're waiting for
Hmm.
them to call you to stage, and you don't. You never knew that they were bringing you in as a singled out interview, and then you were going to get kicked off, or you did know that.
I did not know that. I
So
mean,
you
obviously,
walking on
as the
set,
day, as the hours go on, I'm
it
like,
makes sense. Yeah,
you know, I, I still thought it would be more than what it was, but obviously there's only so many hours in a day, but I was just like, what is happening here? And also just even just trying to like keep your energy up, and by the way, there were hours where I was fully in my dress, cinched up, corset tight, ready to go because I think, they're gonna bring me out. So it's like you're just sitting around like, oh, like, could
yeah,
you at least just I could have had sweatpants on the last 4 hours, like I can't even pee in this thing.
yeah. That is insane to me. I mean,
Yeah.
I only knew the behind the scenes because of what you had put on TikTok, and I was following
Yeah.
it, all the time. Um, and so I want to take away from the, I mean, again, I want to make it a little lighthearted and give some behind the scenes. Can you give us a peek behind the curtain in the sense of when do you get your filming dates? Like when do you know who you're filming with? Do you know hours before? Do you know the day before? Because I would imagine there's some anxiety that's kind of paired with that of like, oh no, like I have, we're going to a broker's open and Chriselle's going to be there. Do you see her name on the call list? Do you not?
Yeah. Okay, so what happens is usually on Sundays, like we never shoot on Sundays or Mondays. So usually like Monday after they have, their production meeting, we'll get an email or a text with like from one of the producers of our schedule for the week. And it'll be like, hey, Tuesday you're going to be filming, lunch with Mary. Um, Wednesday we'll have an office scene, and Thursday we'll have a group dinner. So they usually like you get those details. If it's one on one with someone, you'll always know who it is.
Okay.
If it's a group thing, they'll usually just say office scene or office, or girls dinner. Like they don't
Yeah.
go into specifics all the time. Um, but like, and then so you'll get that schedule, but then sometimes things change last minute. Like they'll be like, hey, actually, can are you available tomorrow? Can we do this scene tomorrow now? So there is a lot of stuff that changes, but you have the top line details, like
Yeah.
where, generally with who, and that's kind of it. And
Wow.
then when you get
And
there, when you get to set, then they'll be like, they give you the beats, they call it. So that's when they're like, okay, so we need you and Mary to to touch on this, to touch on that, different things that they need us to hit. And then
yeah.
that's, if we're not hitting those things, they'll be like, okay, listen, you guys need to bring up Chelsea or whatever. Like, and a lot of times you're like, oh,
Hmm.
really? Like, we don't, come on, we've already talked about this. Like, we don't, we don't want to, like, who cares? Like, we've already, and they're like, but at a certain point, you're just like, I want to go home. Let's just, whatever. Okay, did you see that Chelsea did? Because you just get tired, and you're like,
Yeah.
let's just get this thing wrapped up, you know?
Yeah, similar to to the situation of them yelling at you in Pioneer Town, right? Like the producers were yelling at you. You know, you got to say it or you're not going home, right? Like that's
Yeah,
just what it is. Is that the
yeah.
culture of like if you're filming, you can't do anything the rest of the day because you don't know how long that's going to take, or do they say you're only going to be filming from noon to 5 or whatever?
Well, now there's usually a cutoff time. The
Oh,
only
okay,
the only thing where there's not is like for night events. Um, you know, that timeline can be a little more up in the air, but like for anything during the day, we know like what time we'll be back, because
okay.
all of the crew like is all what's the word?
Oh, they're all part of the like a union.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. They're all union. Thank you. Yes,
Got it.
exactly. So, you know, they have to be cut at certain times. They have to have a
Yeah,
certain
yeah.
break. So that it's nice because it wasn't that way for the rest of the cast. I remember at the beginning,
Hmm.
they wouldn't know how long they'd be filming, so that makes things a little better on our end. But again, for night stuff, like you don't totally know.
Gosh. Okay. Let's talk about the real gist before I let you go because as a real estate agent, I need to know. In your opinion, who actually sells on the cast? So and maybe I'll start it off by saying it's obvious you do. It's obvious Mary does. It's not so obvious, in my opinion, that Amanda. I don't even at this point. I'm so confused. Me and my friends are talking. We don't even no shade to her, but I'm like, is she just the designer? Is she just the stager? I'm not really knowing where they never really fill that gap for us. So obviously not her, but who are the heavy hitters besides you and Mary that sell actual real estate?
Jason and Brett.
I figured that, and it's very obvious too. Like someone like Bree, it's very obvious that she has other priorities, right? She's not a. I would say she's not
Yeah,
a full time agent, but she's made it very clear on the show. Like I have my son. I'm doing other things, business ventures, whatever the case. Emma has her
right,
empanadas that we love to hear about.
right.
Chriselle, is doing her thing. I don't know what else she does besides besides the acting thing, but so it's very obvious. I just wanted to hear that from your point of view because I would imagine it's daunting when you're sitting in the office filming and we're talking about who, when y'all have your little group huddles and Jason's going through saying, oh, well, so and so has this, so and so has this. Is it kind of an understood of like, yeah, we're all acting here. We all know that this isn't true. You know what I mean?
I mean, like, yes, but it's also for me, it's frustrating because it's like, first of all, I'm not gonna go on camera and be like, yeah, so I have this buyer who's looking after like 50 million, and I have this $15 million property. Like, I'm just not gonna lie about it because this is I. this is how I actually make a living, like
Yeah.
this is,
Yeah.
so if I'm just making shit up, um, this actually this is going to affect my business and
Yeah.
reputation.
Yeah.
And I understand for them, like exaggerating, I don't think it totally matters because, it's not their first priority. And that's totally fine. A lot of people don't are licensed real estate agents who don't, or it isn't
Produce.
their primary focus,
Yeah.
and just don't produce, or just, have it like it's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's just, I just don't want to put myself in those positions. And also, like, it's for whatever reason, I think they've really only shown one, like, real listing of mine. The rest, like, because I don't want to pretend a $30 million listing is mine when it's not.
Yeah.
Um, like, I don't know. There's just a lot of it where pretty much all that you see is smoke and mirrors,
Yeah, of course, of course. So,
which sucks
I
because it's a real estate show. But yeah,
I was gonna
that's
say, right? Like, it is nice. The homes are beautiful, right? Like, it is
yeah,
great to see some of the architecture, some of the landscaping, even in the, and
yeah,
it's pretty outlandish to see. But you're right. Like, it kind of depicts. It's like for us in Texas, it's like everyone wants to get a real estate license because they think everything is selling sunset. It's an active
right.
joke. I would imagine that you've heard. Where like real estate is not selling sunset. Even some of the men and
No.
women that join our industry, or even my brokerage, we're like, look, I know you think that's what it is, but that show is not reality, you know? But I do want to touch on one thing, and we're getting to the end here, but I felt it important. We've talked about a lot of conversation you guys have had, a lot of drama and all the things, but it all is a catalyst of one thing. And I want to hear your take on it, because the catalyst between you and Chriselle, which is, in my opinion, why the entire cast is kind of turned, us against you situation, is based on the listing that, that is what started the drama. The listing that you were on, that Chriselle was brought on camera.
Hmm.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that we were told, or the way that it was depicted, was that Jason was going to put both of you on a listing, and you were not okay with that. And the reason you weren't okay with it is because, again, the way it was depicted to us, again, I'm not saying that this is true, but the way that they depicted it was, oh, well, Chriselle maybe isn't deserving of it, or she doesn't work, or whatever the case. Tell me the real story, because I know that's not the real story. I need to
Yeah.
know what was the reason why you had so many strong feelings about that.
Okay. So how that went down in real life was, it was my listing. Um, it was it was a listing that was an escrow 3 time. I mean, an incredible, gorgeous, brand new construction house, but fell out of escrow 3 times. I mean, it took 9 months to get sold. I worked very, very, very hard and very, very long on that property. And that, the developer is, I mean, I've sold like 5 homes for him. So this
Oh,
is,
wow.
a repeat client, and an amazing client. So when they were filming season 2, like, I knew Chriselle was filming at the property a few times because I'd be like wrapping up a showing, and then she and the camera crew would show up, and at the time I was like, fantastic. Like, I thought she was coming in like as a buyer's agent, like she's bringing a buyer, and I was like, fantastic. This is great for the property. Um, more exposure, camera time, like, awesome. Thank you. Like, thank you for, wanting to show it. Great.
Yeah.
Good luck. So it wasn't until I was sitting on the couch, like with the rest of the world, watching season 2, that I then realized, oh my God, they gave her they're giving her credit as a listing agent. She was like, she had no part of this listing.
Yeah.
She was not on this listing at all. And someone famous had bought the property. So when it closed, like, Jason and my name was all over, listed by, like, she was never part of it. And, uh, you know, marketing credit and your past experience is a really, 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 really important thing in real estate because it's what
Absolutely.
gets you more business. And at the time, my husband and I had just bought our house in that same area in the valley. And
Hmm.
so I wanted to get some sales under my belt so I could get more business in the new area that I lived.
Yeah.
So that property, I probably shouldn't say this, but Jason offered, instead of me making, I don't remember exactly what it sold for, but like 110 or $120,000. He offered me $10,000, which is like a
This is
95
diabolically crazy to me.
95% less commission than I should have made on that sale. And the reason I did it is because that's how much I needed and wanted, the past sale and the marketing credit so I could use that to get more business.
Yeah.
So the fact that I took the 95% cut in commission and she took the marketing credit to the world, I was like, are, are you kidding me? And everyone's like, well, this sounds like something you should be mad at Jason was. Oh, don't worry. I absolutely was. I mean, at first, like I had no issue with her at all. And in fact, like when she had posted, like I'd talked to her about it and I was like, listen, like this really ticks me off, but like I understand this wasn't your decision. So we were like initially on the same page. And then when I started marketing it on my Instagram, which my real estate Instagram, which maybe have 3,000 followers, like
Yeah.
no one, right? She started getting pissed because people started looking into it and realizing that how it was shown on the show was not real and that it was always my listing. So now she's feeling embarrassed in the public eye and not looking like this real estate mogul that they're portraying her as. It's not my problem. Like,
Right.
so then she starts getting mad at me, and that's where things changed. Um, and that's where she started getting nasty about it. And I was like, I'm not, I, I'm not taking it down. Like, I'm not taking that post down. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You've taken the credit to the world. Like, sorry, not happening. Um, and then Jason got involved, and I was like, I don't understand what's happening here. Like, he's the one who's always preached to us how important past sales are. So,
Yeah.
anyway, so then this was like an ongoing issue for years because there were so many times when, I'd be going to a listing appointment, for example, and, oh, here's the past homes I've sold in your area. And people
Uh-huh.
would be like, wait, is that Chriselle's listing? So then it made me look like, that I'm marketing other people's
Yeah,
sales,
you're losing the trust
you
of
know?
potential clients.
Yes. So it just like it was a big issue. And then the day of that, the brokers open, at Chelsea's open when all hell broke loose.
Right.
And she's like,
Godly.
bring this up out of the blue out of 3 years. She and I had a text argument about it hours earlier. Like once again, so it's just she knows how to spin things on camera, uh, and I just didn't, especially in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how to not break the fourth wall. I don't know how to do this. So it was just way over my head. But that's where it
That's
all
where it
came
started.
from.
Yeah, and it makes sense.
Uh, yeah,
And speaking of that fourth wall this season, I mean, the fourth wall was broken countless times. I think that
yeah.
production lost control, if I'm being honest, in some instances. Was that a theme this season when you were filming? Did you feel like there was a lot of times that you felt you heard other cast members talking to the producers on camera? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that stuff will happen. I not want to say like frequently, but it definitely happens quite a bit. But it usually is just cut, right?
Yeah, you don't know what's going to be
Um,
shown.
right. But I think this season, especially towards the end of the season, when you see it a lot more, I think it was just indicative of everything and everyone just kind of crumbling,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think it was obviously a production choice to show that how much it was crumbling, and maybe to show that it was like these are real emotions,
yeah, yeah.
because I think when you see someone or people yelling at the producers or yelling at people off camera, like, oh yeah, no, no one's acting here. Like
Yeah, yeah.
these are deep rooted feelings.
So as we talk about that and close out the conversation, what is your, I guess, understanding of the future of Selling Sunset? Because for me, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like y'all film seasons back to back. So do y'all not already have a season filmed?
No, we don't.
Interesting.
we had been doing that. Like we did 6 and 7 back to back. 8 to 9 wasn't back to back, but, like, we had, I don't know, a couple month break in between. But
Hmm.
no, we have not filmed another season past this, and I don't know, like, I don't know if they have made any decisions. I mean, because usually how it goes is when a new season comes out, Netflix wants to see the numbers, they wanna see reactions, I mean, they wanna
Yeah.
see, how it's received. And then they, make a decision whether to green light it or not. And I don't know. This season, I don't think anyone has made a decision yet. I also think after this season, it might be a little more difficult. Again,
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
saying this for a little bit now at this point. I just have a hard time. I just have a hard time thinking there will be another season.
Same.
And I kind of hope that, and not because I'm moving, but just I just kind of think it's gone to a place that it needs to wrap up because
Yeah.
I don't know if it can come out of that, and I don't know if it can be repaired, and I don't know if this is like the toxic dark kind of stuff that we want to keep doing and want to keep showcasing. I mean, even from, like Jason's perspective, like
Hmm.
is this something you want to have under the Oppenheim Group? I mean,
Yeah, it's
I don't know. I
exhausting
just
as
don't think
well,
it doesn't look good luck anymore, you know?
Yeah, the brand is kind of starting to get tarnished a little bit. And
Yeah.
speaking of that, do y'all have relationships with the cast of the OC office? Or I mean, I saw that they made appearances with I mean, I know they're not a part of the Oppenheim Group, so but they're part of, I guess, the franchise show, which is
Mhm.
Selling the City. Like, do y'all have ongoing relationships with, like, let's say Alex Hall or any of those from
I
the other shows?
I do. I love all of them. Like, it's
Right.
so
Oh,
funny
cool.
because it looks like I'm such a loner loser on my cast and just, like, in my office, but it's really just the cast that I don't get along with. Like, everyone in our office who's not on the show,
Yeah.
everyone in the OC office, everyone in the San Diego office, everyone in the Cabo office, I love dearly and vice versa. So I have relationships with all of them, even the ones that don't get along, like in, the OC. I
Yeah. Yeah.
love
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
I
They
will
have their own beef.
say, yeah, I'm definitely the only one who has relationships with all of them like that. I would say Mary definitely has relationships with several of the people in, from OC. Um, Rochelle does not have relationships with any of them.
Wow.
Um, they have pretty strong feelings about her. And the rest of them, I don't know. I don't think, like, I don't mean like enemies, but I just,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
No, no,
think
no.
there's much, like deep relationships
Yeah.
outside of that.
Yeah. Well, I want to finish this podcast with two questions for you, Nicole. I think, first off, I want to say thank you for coming and being so unapologetically yourself. I really stand by that, actually. Just me as a core value of mine. But I want to ask you two questions. Both of them are a little bit more deeper of reflecting on your end. But I think it'll help you. I think it'll be, it'll help you in this new transition that you're about to step into. God willing, you get an offer on your house soon. So the first question I have to round this out is there a scene in all your scenes of Selling Sunset that you wish you could refilm to that was maybe edit, or if you could re-edit it or change the narrative? Is there anything that you can immediately think of, gosh, if I could refilm that scene, or if I had power to edit it, I would show it a little different to, like, get me out of XYZ?
Yeah. Oh God, so many. Um, so many. But let's see. The top one. I mean, I think it's a tie. Well, let's see. I'd probably the Emma situation, just because, yeah, I just wouldn't have allowed production to twist my arm like that. Um, yeah, I just would have stuck to my guns in terms of what I'd been telling them for the past year. Like, no, if you want more
Yeah.
information, you can get it from this person. Um, and I guess put it back on them. Like, okay, well, is this something you're going to fire me over? because
Yeah.
it was probably just them trying to pressure me in the most extreme way that they possibly could, and obviously, it worked.
It
Um,
worked. Yeah.
yeah, I'd probably say that, because then after that, then it was like I had to have so many different conversations about, because I thought it was like after that dinner, I was like, okay, last time I have to talk about that. Oh, of course not. Then it's like, then I have to talk to Alana about it. And then I have to, so it's like, and I'm like, I don't want this to be my to be my storyline. This is ridiculous. But yeah, I would say that one.
Yeah, it ended up being your storyline for a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last
Yeah.
question, I do this with every single guest I have. I like to end the podcast with I part of my marketing as an agent and even my branding on the podcast is doing it for little Rueben, right? Because little Rueben didn't, which I'm sure little Nicole is the same. Little Rueben didn't really have anyone that looked like him, maybe, in the, whether it be in the local limelight, quote unquote, or in real estate or successful. And so I do a lot of things with little Rueben in my mind, right? And so I want
Uh-huh.
to kind of pose the question to you, if there was something that you could, talk to little Nicole, whether it be little Nicole when she was a teenager or, baby agent Nicole, what would you tell her, what you know now, and all the things that have been thrown at you, what would you tell her to continue to motivate her? And the reason I asked that question is, one, for you to reflect, but two, because someone's going to be watching this. Someone's going to
Hmm.
be listening to this that really needs to understand the dynamic of what it feels like to be portrayed in a light that's not you, or what it's like to maybe never imagine themselves living in California selling real estate. So what would you tell little Nicole to kind of help her push through?
I would definitely say, continue to stand your ground, to know who you are, and to not let anyone else try to rewrite that. If you know who you are and you lead with integrity at all times, personally, professionally, um, that will remain, and that will be seen. Sometimes outside noise can just be such a distraction, but don't be distracted by things or people, that aren't helping you grow and move forward. Like, keep your eyes on the prize and remember who you are. And I think, this would be to little Nicole, and also just many other people too, is it's okay to, you know, stand alone. It's okay to, even if it's feeling like you're ostracized, if you are being truthful with who you are, and again, back to integrity and your intentions, um, because it's only going to last for so long, and you want to look back, at the decisions you made and things you've done, and at least be able to say, I was strong and I'm stronger now for it. And if you can come out of any tough situation having personal growth, at least it's worth it.
Thank God. They amen to that.
Yeah.
Nicole, I appreciate you coming on here,
Yes.
giving me the chance to chat with you. I hope you felt the love. I hope you felt the
Oh,
understanding. I hope you were able to get
so
things off your
much.
chest. um,
Absolutely.
because
I'm so happy you reached out, and it was amazing. I just appreciate the opportunity, and it's just so much fun just to, chat with another agent who sees it too. So this has been
yeah,
awesome.
you don't get to do that often. You're
I
always getting
know.
interviewed by the Entertainment Tonight people or whatever, right? So yeah, I know it all too well. But thank you so
Yeah.
much. I know you have a lot to do, so I appreciate you for coming on. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
everyone's gonna lose their mind when they see this. I'll say that. So we will talk
Awesome.
soon. But yeah, until the
Okay.
next time, thank you guys for watching.